The night my life detonated did not arrive with thunder. It slid in on a whisper, a slow rolling silence that ate the sound from every room. When the final notification came, credit line revoked, project terminated, colleagues ghosted, I sat on the bare floor of the apartment I could no longer afford and felt the universe exhale through the cracks in the drywall. I remember staring at the eviction notice until the letters warped from the heat of my breath. Rent unpaid, utilities cut, future cancelled. My phone buzzed once more. A last message from her. I need someone who isn't a curse. Read at 2:03 a.m. Blue ticks like cold eyes. No reply required. Betrayal tastes metallic. That night, it pooled behind my teeth. Every muscle trembled, but not from rage. Emptiness has its own vibration. I crawled to the bathroom, looked in the cracked mirror, and tried to locate the man I used to recognize. Hollow cheeks, eyes rimmed red from nights that never bothered ending. I pressed my forehead to the glass. It felt like touching a tombstone. Hours later, dawn sneaked in, gray and voiceless. I walked the streets because the apartment had become a coffin. Downtown billboards screamed victories I'd never tasted. Athletes flexing, entrepreneurs grinning, lovers laughing beneath fireworks. Their brightness cut my retina like broken neon. I pulled my hoodie lower, afraid someone might see the bruises stitched across my soul. By noon, I'd pawned the last watch my father left me. Its tick had always promised one more second to fix everything. The clerk handed me hastily counted bills, eyes already drifting to the next desperate customer. Walking outside, money weighed my pocket like a dare. Food for a week, or a one-way ticket to nowhere. I bought a bottle instead and drank in an alley that stank of last night's rain and this morning's regrets. Silence settled again, thicker than liquor. In that silence, the voice woke, the one that collects failures like trophies. It whispered stats: 32 years old, 0 savings, career ash, relationship rubble. It asked if I was proud of the museum I'd built out of broken promises. I answered by finishing the bottle, throat burning. Night fell. Sirens pulsed in the distance, rhythmic and indifferent. I climbed the fire escape of an abandoned factory and stood on the roof. Wind whipped my coat. Below, traffic flowed like veins in a beast that never sleeps. For a heartbeat, I thought about leaning forward, letting gravity finish what indecision started. Felt almost merciful. But another sound cut through. The metallic clink of a weight dropped on concrete. I peered over and saw a silhouette under a skeletal street lamp. An old man doing deadlifts with rusted rebar, back straight, breaths controlled. Nobody watched him. No cameras, just discipline in the dark. A spark inside me flickered, pathetic but alive. I stepped back from the ledge. Not tonight. The next morning, I woke on the factory floor, joints stiff, conscience louder. Hunger punched holes through the alcohol fog. I scavenged coins, bought day-old bread, chewed it like penance. Then I walked. No destination, just movement to keep from freezing in place. My feet led me to a public library. Warmth, shelves of possibility. I picked a random aisle and found a book on Stoic philosophy. Pages smelled of dust and defiance. I sat between stacks until the lights dimmed for closing. Seneca said the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and I decided mine would no longer be gray. Day after day, routine formed. Mornings, push-ups in the factory until my arms shook. Afternoons, library, notebooks filling with plans I barely believed. Evenings, sweeping floors in a grimy gym. in exchange for membership. Nights, hauling scrap metal for cash, lungs coated in rust. Progress crawled slower than sunrise in winter, but each cycle I felt a fraction less hollow. Between rounds of monotony, I built tiny rituals, cold showers at dawn to remind my nerves that comfort is a liar. Handwritten affirmations taped to cracked walls. Earn your breath. I deleted streaming apps, replaced them with audiobooks about warriors who'd bled their way to legend. Calories were counted like precious ammunition. Sleep became strategic. 4-hour blocks stitched together by caffeine and purpose. No witnesses, no applause. Just the drumbeat of a mind refusing to drown. Yet weakness is a cunning enemy. One rain-soaked Friday, I returned to the factory to find my meager belongings gone, stolen or claimed by mold. The voice laughed. See, even your nothing can be taken. I punched a wall and split my knuckle, blood dripping like red sand. Pain sang lullabies of surrender. I almost listened. Almost. That weekend, the gym owner, a scarred ex-boxer named Ruiz, noticed the bandage on my hand. Hitting walls or opponents? He asked, voice gravel wrapped in humor. Mostly myself, I muttered. He tossed me battered gloves. Hurt properly, at least. Under flickering lights, I met the heavy bag. Leather met leather. Every strike sounded like tearing pages from my past. Sweat blurred vision. Discipline sharpened it again. Respect is quiet in places built from pain. Weeks turned into months, measured not by calendar, but by calluses. I vanished from parties, from social media, from the orbit of people who only know how to orbit someone else's sun. In solitude, I learned the music of repetition. Jab, cross, hook, breathe. I ran hills at dawn until my lungs filed restraining orders. I filled notebooks with goals grossly out of proportion to my circumstances. And every night, I returned to the roof, not to jump, but to witness the city's pulse and remind myself that even the tallest towers are built from stolen hours in the dark. Still, monsters evolve. The voice adapted, shifting from mockery to negotiation. You've done enough, it cooed. Take one night off. I pictured the eviction notice, the blue ticks, the mirror that couldn't recall my face. I spat on the floor and started another set. Early spring, streets thawed, dreams too. An email arrived from a startup I'd applied to months before, when desperation still tasted new. Their biggest investor had fled. They needed someone willing to grind for equity instead of salary. Interview tomorrow at 6 a.m. Come prepared to demonstrate hunger. Hunger. I'd been dining on hunger. I arrived 30 minutes early, sweat soaking my only shirt from a 5-mile run. Bus fare was a luxury. The CEO, a woman with comet energy, grilled me for 2 hours. When she asked why I belonged there, I said, because I already live in the trenches you're about to enter. She offered me the role. Equity contract, 0 guarantees, perfect. Life became a war campaign. Days coding prototypes, nights punishing the heavy bag, weekends hauling scrap to cover food. Ruiz lent me a cot in the gym storage room, half rent, half mercy. I slept between medicine balls and forgotten trophies, dreams sinking to the tick of a neon clock that never once found silence. Setbacks struck like sniper rounds. A demo crashed mid-pitch. Investors walked. My right wrist sprained during sparring. Keyboard work became agony. A stomach virus wiped me out for a week. The voice returned, cloaked in reason. Stabilize. Get a safe job. Stability is the most seductive poison. I vomited doubts with the virus and got back to work. One night, 3 a.m., code refusing to compile, I stepped outside. Rain fell needle thin. In its hiss, I heard every no, every laughed at idea. Something snapped, not a bone, but a chain. I screamed into the empty street, a guttural release that ripped my throat raw. Lightning answered, carving silver scars across the sky. In that flash, I saw myself, drenched, fists clenched, standing, alive, unbroken. I walked back inside, rewrote the code from scratch, and watched the build succeed at sunrise. Obsession had melted into mastery. 3 months later, we launched our product, an AI tool turning chaotic data into clear predictions for small businesses drowning in uncertainty. Launch day livestream, servers twitching under traffic. First 100 signups in 5 minutes, then 1,000. A major tech blog tweeted praise. Numbers spiked like a fever. Investors who'd ghosted began calling. We let them wait. That evening, we demoed in a converted warehouse, industrial chic, raw like our journey. Rows of skeptics watched the platform save a retailer millions in hypothetical waste. Live, applause erupted, camera flashes popped. In the crowd, I spotted her, the one who'd called me a curse. Our eyes met. Time froze. She looked away first. After Q&A, the CEO handed me the mic. My hands, once shaking over eviction papers, felt steady as steel. I spoke not of features, but of failure, of roofs and rebar deadlifts at midnight, of silent mornings where discipline held my skeleton together. The room listened like soldiers to a war drum. I ended with, "We built this company in the dark so that you could see your future in the light." Ovations feel strange when your applause muscle is still bruised. I bowed, slipped outside. Ruiz leaned against a wall, cigar unlit. "Told you to hurt properly," he said. "Still hurts," I laughed. "Good." He clapped my shoulder, the gesture heavier than any trophy. We walked back to the gym. I wrapped my hands, stepped into the ring. Ruiz raised pads. "Show me the difference between before and now." I hit. The sound echoed like thunder, finally permitted to speak. Later, on the factory roof, my unofficial cathedral, I watched city lights wink like conspiracy signals. I remembered the mirror that once failed to recognize me. I understood now it wasn't the glass that was cracked. It was my belief. Below, engines roared, lovers argued, dreams died, and were reborn in the same breath. Chaos, beautiful and obedient to those who refused to kneel. I inhaled the night, tasted iron and ozone, and whispered to whatever gods patrol the void. I was broken, alone, unrecognizable. You should have buried me deeper. Final warning, carved into the wind, worthy of any comment pin, worthy of any prophecy. Break me again, and I will teach the fracture to fear.